Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Aaron Suray here on this gloomy Wednesday evening there, where it is currently sitting at 81 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with a south wind at 11 miles per hour. This is out ahead of our cold front that will be coming in the next 24 to 48 hours or so. Current temperatures across the area, we're seeing mostly in the low 80s across much of the Big Bend. A little bit cooler in Donaldsonville from that rainfall we had over the past hour or so. Here's that rain there. We haven't seen rain in a long time here across the area, but there it is. We have rainfall there across Chattahoochee over towards Mariana over near I-10. So tonight's headlines: rainy conditions are expected in the short term, which will lead to that cooler or those cool temperatures behind that cold front. Tropical storm Carl in the Bay of Campeche, and what can we expect for the upcoming fall and winter seasons? And we'll talk all about that more here on tonight's edition of FSU Weather.
Good evening, Tallahassee, and welcome into today's episode of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Ryan Stewart. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got Tropical Storm Carl in the Gulf of Mexico that formed earlier today. And then we've got a cold front moving through Tallahassee tonight. That would bring some rain and cooler temperatures over the next couple of days, maybe even a 40-degree on Thursday morning. And then we've also got severe thunderstorms moving through southeast, including Nashville. A couple tornado warnings earlier in the day. Even up near Great Lakes region and Chicago, southeast Wisconsin, they saw some of the severe weather. So we've got quite a lot to talk about tonight, and now I'm going to pass it off to Aaron, who's going to tell you more about what to expect tonight.
That's right. It is currently gloomy across much of the Big Bend, where we have those low to mid-level clouds coming in off from the west, and that's all in advance of that cold front that'll be coming in over the next 24 to 48 hours or so. So right now it's actually 81 degrees, so a little bit on the warmer side. Today it's actually a little bit more humid, certainly a little bit more in the way of sweat on the way to class there today. But we do have some rain on the radar. We haven't seen rain in quite some time, I believe about a month and a half or so across much of the area since about middle of September. So certainly we welcome the rainfall here, at least to inhibit the progression of any drought or any drought conditions. But we do have rain over towards Mariana and Chattahoochee there. This is a dying storm. It looks as it's making its way off to the north and east there. So those lightning strikes are becoming less numerous as the storm has crossed I-10 and moving over into southwest Georgia. But over towards our east, we're not seeing rainfall quite yet, but we will see these rounds of showers coming in overnight and into tomorrow ahead of the advancing cold front. So current temperatures across the area, we're for the most part staying in the low 80s here, with 70 being the coolest spot in Donaldsonville, where it has been raining or so over the past hour. And as for temperature outlook for today, we were a little bit above average with that increasing moisture as well. You might have felt it if you walked outside today. But our high temperature was 87 degrees today, with our low sitting at 66, which is about 5 degrees higher than our average. And same thing with our low temperature as well in the low to mid 80s. Same thing with the low in the low 60s, but nowhere near our record high of 93 or our record low, which is just flipped, of 39, set back at 2000. So our current dew points very saturated, very moist here across much of the Big Bend, with dew points sitting in the upper 60s to low 70s. That's nearly summertime dew points. So very moist day here across much of the area. This will eventually subside as we do have that cold front coming in. It'll kick all that moisture out far from our area. So our future radar, we'll see perhaps a band of rain coming in, perhaps over after midnight. So it could perhaps be a bit strong. It might wake you up perhaps, depending on how much lightning comes out of this. But behind that, we'll see that cooler northerly air settling in as we get to our middle or later on Thursday. So tomorrow looks like most of the rain should be more in the first half of the day if we do see, at least after that initial line of storms come through around midnight tonight. So tonight we'll see temperatures down in the upper 60s with thunderstorms. So again, might need to look out for perhaps that rumble of thunder overnight. Winds should remain pretty calm, but could get a little bit gusty in some of those embedded thunderstorms. But for the week ahead, we'll see those temperatures, for the most part, remaining into the 80s before that cold front comes in, dropping it down into the 70s. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I really enjoy that, or I'm really looking forward to that fall feel.
I am too. These temperatures have been quite nice the last couple of days. And taking a look around the rest of the state, we are looking a little bit interesting. So we've got a few showers and storms up here in the Panhandle. We've got this big area of precipitation sitting off the Gulf Coast. And then we've got some showers and storms pushing over Central Florida, even down towards Naples and Southwest Florida. Taking a look up here near Tallahassee, though, like Aaron mentioned, we do have this storm that's kind of pushing its way towards the state line, but another line of storms is going to come down from the north and push through tonight. And we've also got a couple of showers over into kind of pushing its way on shore from the Gulf of Mexico. So right now at Lakefront Park, it's about 80 degrees, looking quite all right. Mostly cloudy. You do notice the sunset is kind of going to be clouded out tonight. Looking over Central Florida, we had a shower push over Seminole County a little bit earlier. That's kind of still getting its way going. And then off near Daytona Beach and getting near I-95, there's also a couple of storms pushing up the coast. Still looking at the University of Florida tonight, 82 degrees, partly cloudy. They're looking quite nice, but there are clouds around. And then also looking at Southwest Florida, Fort Myers on south. They're also getting in on the action with some storms moving through. Even a couple of pop-up showers near the Keys, and even off near the Bahamas, they're getting some action. So right now, Miami 85, mostly cloudy. Looking nice though as you look off over the city. So if you're going out tonight, maybe you'll see a passing shower. But overall, it's going to be a great night to go out, whether it be to South Beach or wherever you go. Rainfall forecast, so most of the state is going to be getting in as this cold front passes over. Most of the state's going to be getting in on the action of rain. We're even seeing some like heavy spots up near Tallahassee, and even a couple of spots off the Gulf Coast. And that'll keep temperatures kind of cooler. So right now, we're looking at 80s across the Panhandle, and then also down towards the rest of the state. 86 down in Key West, 85 at Miami, and then 84 at West Palm. So it's kind of, if you've seen rain so far, that's where the weather is a little bit cooler, and also dew points will drop off a little bit. So 69 right now in Tallahassee, 73 is the dew point in Jacksonville. Most of the state is seeing summer-like humidity. If you stepped outside it, you definitely felt a little more humid than it normally does. And that's with this cold front pushing through. So tonight, we're going to see storms push through a lot of the state tonight. That's going to cool temperatures off as we go into tomorrow. So you notice the high temperatures, 86 across the Panhandle, 82 down in Orlando, 81 in Tampa. So overall, there's a lot of cooler weather coming this way. Now I'm going to pass off to Aaron, who's going to tell you more about what's coming up in the tropics.
That's right. Our tropics are, for the most part, staying somewhat quiet, although we do have Carl that actually formed off of the northern remnants of Julia, and it's currently spinning off in the Gulf of Mexico. We'll talk about Carl here in a bit. But overall, across much of the Atlantic, we're staying fairly quiet. We do have perhaps a wave here off the, or just to the northeast of, say, Guyana and into the main what we call the main development region. But overall, we're staying pretty quiet with a cold front off towards off the east coast of the United States. But zooming in a little bit closer on Carl, we do see that it is a fairly weak tropical storm there, at least at 60 miles per hour. So this perhaps could strengthen a little bit as before landfall, before it does dip down to the south there over Mexico. It's quite an unusual track, but we don't have very much in the way of steering currents to really take this out away from the area. So we're perhaps going to see a strengthening tropical storm making landfall somewhere near, or at least the southern coast of the Bay at Campeche, perhaps as a stronger tropical storm there. What it will bring, though, is a lot of rain. So while the wind might not necessarily pack as much of a punch, it still perhaps might bring a good amount of rain there and good dousing there in the southeastern portions of Mexico. And most computer models do agree with that. Most of them are showing them going down off towards the south there. As for our previous aircraft reconnaissance here, this flew in a few hours ago, only showing a pressure down to about 1,001 millibars, so not showing very much in the way of strengthening over the past few hours or so, but it is still at 60 miles per hour down there in the lower Gulf. And the reason why is because we have those sea surface temperatures still above 80 degrees, and actually probably in the middle 80s there, at least in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. A little bit cooler as you make your way off to the north as we start to begin the transition with these cold fronts. So water vapor imagery, we're still showing that big blob of convection there with those colder cloud tops over across the Bay of Campeche. And this is actually bringing some of the outflow from Carl is actually bringing some of those upper level clouds, at least specifically for the peninsula of Florida, but bringing in some of those extra clouds too across our area. So overall in the tropics, Tropical Storm Carl is expected to gradually strengthen as it weakens towards southern Mexico, or strengthen as it drifts towards southern Mexico. Further tropical cyclone formation is not expected within the next 5 days or so, as we do expect that calming of the Atlantic Ocean as we do begin to move into the middle and end of October. The season does end on November 30th, so do remember that we could perhaps still see a strong storm coming out of this, specifically with the sea surface temperatures remaining pretty high still in the 80s or so. But yeah, just make sure you saw that hurricane kit ready to go just in the event.
Regardless of whether you're in the southeast right now, it is still hurricane season. It's important to keep in mind. Looking at all of the southeast, we showed Gainesville a little bit earlier. Blacksburg, Virginia, 62 degrees. They're getting pretty cool. A lot of the southeast is going to see cooler temperatures these next couple of days with that cold front passing through. Atlanta, pretty cloudy. Atlanta and Bowling Green both have rain on the lens. Looks pretty dark in Bowling Green, 66 degrees. Across all of the southeast, Nashville is where we're going to kind of keep our center of attention right now. There is a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings moving through. Saw a tornado warning a little bit earlier, and the severe thunderstorm watch for most of this area here through about 10 o'clock local time. 83 out in Little Rock, and 81 down in New Orleans, where they are seeing some storms moving through, and then 75 out in Charleston, 68 in Atlanta. Dew points is pretty humid through most of the southeast, getting a little bit of relief up in Nashville, where you are seeing those showers and storms move through. Taking a look at radar, you'll notice this big glob of thunderstorms here throughout Alabama, Georgia, even in the Carolinas starting to get onto action. And then a bunch of, all those low dots are severe, all those yellow dots, I should say, are severe thunderstorm warnings. We're also seeing another QLCS form that's pushing its way through Tennessee right now. So that's where we're starting to see some severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's take a look a little closer at Georgia right now. Again, those storms pushing through. Nashville, storms just pushed through Nashville, so we saw a tornado warning more for West Nashville a little bit ago, and then that's going to start creeping its way further east. So even though there's not currently a tornado warning in effect, there are quite a few severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, and it's important to be weather aware as we go through the evening night. You'll notice with Futurecast, the storms will push off overnight tonight into tomorrow, and then that'll leave the southeast with some great looking weather the next couple of days. Humidity should be down, and temperatures will follow with that. Just a great looking next couple of days throughout all of the southeast, but we have to get through the thunderstorms tonight first. You notice a lot of rainfall throughout the Carolinas and the Georgia, and then you'll notice the excessive rainfall outlook where it's getting quite a bit of rain near the Mississippi and Alabama state lines. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Aaron to talk a little bit about the fall and winter outlook.
That's right. We will be looking at our fall and winter outlook here as we do approach towards the end of October, where we're starting to talk about more in the way of these seasonal type of changes, where in the wintertime we're going to start seeing those cold fronts come down more often here across the area, and we're going to continue to expect those perhaps bringing some cooler weather, but we'll have to see as we go week by week. But La Niña is expected to dominate heading into the 2022 and 2023 winter, what that generally means is a hotter and warmer conditions across the eastern United States and cooler and wetter for the Pacific Northwest. So it doesn't mean we can't get perhaps some cold snaps, but it will generally mean we'll see, generally speaking, more warmer temperatures across much of the southeast. And the Climate Prediction Center is forecasted, at least through December 2022, saying above average temperatures are likely above average here across much of the area. So again, I do want to say that, I mean, there's always possibility of perhaps some of these cold snaps, but for the most part, it should remain pretty warm. But what is a La Nina, you might ask? Well, a La Nina is actually a weather pattern over the Pacific Ocean. What that basically does is it actually dictates the amount of wind shear and energy we have in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So a La Nina generally means a cooler waters over in the eastern Pacific Ocean. And what that does is it allows for more wind shear over the jet stream. What that tend to do, I should say, sorry about that, it tends to favor more of those wetter conditions, specifically along the northern portions of the United States, and wetter over the Pacific Northwest, where we might perhaps actually see a little bit more of warmer moisture coming in to the Pacific Northwest. And what that will do is that saturate the atmosphere, and of course it'll come down as rain. So that's generally what a La Nina is explained. But our current La Nina conditions, we see that a lot of abundance of blue there across the eastern Pacific, and that is that really cooler water, at least cooler than average, I should say. These are still pretty warm waters, but these are just the anomalies here. So generally speaking, perhaps upwards of maybe about 1 to 2 to 3 degrees Celsius or so below average, at least across the eastern Pacific. Over the western Pacific, we do see those warmer than average temperatures still in the water, and all this in combination does affect the weather here. And this is actually the reason why we tend to see more hurricanes as well during this time of the year, or at least during during these hurricane season during the La Nina years, because we tend to see the weakening of the wind shear, at least over the Atlantic Ocean. But generally speaking, for our weather here, this will tend to favor more rainier conditions for the west coast and drier but warmer conditions across much of the east coast. So the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting that above average temperatures specifically across much of the south and eastern portions of the United States. And what that's going to do is it's going to at least bring more in the way of that warmer temperature overall. So could see perhaps still those cooler snaps as we continue on throughout the rest of at least as we continue on throughout the rest of the season. But generally speaking, it'll be warmer than average. But now we'll turn things back over to Ryan at the wall.
Darren, like you mentioned, tropical season is not quite over yet, but we've got a lot to look at looking across all of the U.S., including 64 degrees up in Boston, 68 out in Seattle, looking quite nice over there, 60 in Billings. And then we saw some storms move through a lot of the Great Lakes, including Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin today, so we'll keep an eye on that. We did see a tornado warning in southern Wisconsin earlier today. Dew points throughout the U.S., very nice humidity factor out west of the Mississippi, just looking into the northwest, very comfortable conditions. I'm kind of jealous of you all out there because looking at the southeast, we don't have that nice humidity. Wind speed across most of the area, or most of the U.S., maybe getting a little bit breezy out in Denver, and then in Boston a little bit breezy, but overall nothing too crazy. Even Los Angeles and San Francisco, near 18 miles an hour in Los Angeles. Taking a look, so we've got this big low cold front, I should say. That's pushing all these storms across Michigan now, and then getting into Kentucky, Tennessee, and even into Alabama and Mississippi. We're seeing storms push through. So lots of dry air to our west, but that's creating a lot of moist air to our kind of southeast region. That's what's going to be factoring in all these thunderstorms as we go through the next couple of days, and then overnight tonight as well. And then we notice, again, off in the Gulf of Mexico, that's the remnant, or not the remnants, but kind of like outflow from Tropical Storm Carl. So very interesting. Taking a look in the northwest, nothing much to talk about on radar. Just a couple pop-up showers in parts of Montana, but overall Idaho, Oregon, Washington, you look nice. I brought up that cold front a little bit earlier, so we've got storms pushing through Wisconsin, pushing their way into Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota tonight. We've also got a little bit stronger line of storms pushing into Canada and parts of Michigan. That's something we're going to have to keep our eye on. Looking at the northeast, we're noticing a good amount of storms knocking on your doorstep, but nothing really coming your way yet. So just know that in the next couple of days, you'll see some temperatures and rain changes. We brought up the southeast with the severe thunderstorm warnings, lots of those popping up And then also this glob of moisture hanging out over Gulf of Mexico, that, again, remnants of Carl. Or not remnants, but kind of outflow from Carl. Looking at the southwest, dry as usual this time of year, nothing really on radar. We saw a couple storms over in Nebraska today, and then a couple little pop-up showers in Southern California, kind of north of Tijuana, near Los Angeles, that area. They're starting to see some of those just pop-up showers, but still kind of not really doing too much temperature-wise. So looking in the northwest, we are seeing above average temperatures through much of the area, including in Oregon and Washington, where we're seeing very, very warm temperatures for this time of year. Over the next week or so, a little bit beyond that. Then also looking at Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio Valley region, very, very cold temperatures for this time of year. And that's because of that cold front that kind of pushed through tonight. So precipitation-wise, we're seeing some precipitation or below average precipitation through most of the country, and then a couple showers and storms starting to push itself together, I should say, in the southwest. Rainfall forecast, just nothing really to see there, except for the southeast and northeast. So now I'm going to pass on to Aaron, who's going to take a look at lifestyle.
That's right, Ryan. As we zoom in back a little bit closer and change gears here a little bit more, across the local area, we're seeing those cloudier conditions for much of the region. So only place where we might see perhaps a little bit of sun is over towards our friends there in Panama City. But overall, Lake Bradford, our Sportsplex, and St. George's Islands remaining pretty cloudy as we continue on throughout the rest of the evening. So currently, it is in the low 80s here in Tallahassee. And that's because of the warmer air and those moisture being advected in from the Gulf of Mexico ahead of that cold front coming in, which is why we see that southerly wind there at 11 miles per hour. But overall, still mostly cloudy day. Doesn't mean we can't see a little bit of that sunshine there behind the horizon. As for airport delays, we should be remaining pretty good there if you're going out of TLH here this evening. No delays are expected here across Tallahassee. And as for the rest of the nation, only place where we might perhaps see any delays is Orlando, but that's because we might actually see a little bit of that sea breeze action going on there, as there it's pretty moist and humid there too. So perhaps some minor delays there. As for our dog walk forecast, as we go throughout your morning tomorrow, we should rise from the upper 60s into the middle 70s, but not very pleasant outside there to walk your dog. Tonight, not really great viewing conditions. Despite saying it's good, it is not really good in terms of viewing that moon. You might not be able to see it with the telescope. But if you're watching some football, Commanders at the Bears here in Chicago, October 13th at 8:15 p.m. there, 47 degrees. So make sure you have that jacket and bundle up there under partly cloudy skies. And if you're going out to the Clemson at FSU game here at Doak Campbell Stadium, it is going to be a nice, pleasant 72 degrees there at kickoff under clear conditions. So really nice night there if you're heading out to the Doak to cheer on the Noles. As for FSU women's soccer, versing Duke here in Tallahassee will stay in the upper 70s there under partly cloudy skies. So it also should still feel pretty pleasant. And as for your weekend forecast, should also remain pretty much in the middle 80s, at least through the rest of this week into the weekend.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We're going to take one last look over at the Tallahassee area. Right now at Doak, getting into sunset time of year where we're getting some pretty good sunsets on the camera. 81 degrees, mostly cloudy, wind at about 11 miles an hour. So nice little breeze if you're walking through campus tonight. You'll definitely, maybe we even want to bring a little bit of a windbreaker or something to stop the wind from getting to you. Taking a look at radar, we are still tracking those storms that are pushing kind of out of the state now over the state line into Georgia, but then a couple more showers and storms are starting to push their way onshore from the Gulf of Mexico tonight. And then throughout the night tonight, we are going to be tracking those showers and thunderstorms as they move through. 73 up in Thomasville, 81 in Tallahassee, 81 in St. Marks as well, 78 down in Apalachicola, 84 in Valdosta, even up to 69 in Donaldsonville. That's getting a little bit cool for this time of year. But taking a look at our almanac, we've got plenty of warm temperatures to go around. 87 degrees right now, or 87 degrees was the high today in Tallahassee. About 4 degrees above average, about 6 degrees shy of our record set in 1985. Same year the Bears won the Super Bowl. So if you're watching Thursday Night Football like I am, 85 was the last time we got to 93 degrees, 66 degrees for the low today, about 5 degrees above average, nowhere near our record cold temperature of 39 degrees. So dew points, we are getting pretty humid. I almost even feel it in here in the studio where it feels a little muggy. So very humid for this time of year. Taking a look at futurecast, we are going to see those showers and storms push through overnight tonight, clearing out by Thursday morning. About 10 a.m. is when we're going to start seeing clearing, and then clouds will push in after that. But overall, nothing really too much to talk about weather-wise, because it's just going to be a little bit cooler, and there's going to be some great weather to talk about. So tonight in Tallahassee, 68 degrees. We are going to see those storms push through overnight tonight. Like Aaron said, they might even wake you up with thunder and lightning. Depends on how heavy of a sleeper you are. Tonight's forecast across the area, these temperatures aren't quite right, but we are expecting, again, the thunderstorms to push through the area overnight tonight. That'll cool us down significantly into the 60s, and then over the next couple of days, we are going to start to see the effects of this cold front. 86 tomorrow in Tallahassee with morning thunderstorms. They should be out by about 8 to 10 o'clock. So if you're walking in an early morning class, you might encounter a couple of thunderstorms, but overall, clearing throughout the day, and that will lead us to a great rest of the day and rest of the week, quite frankly, because we're looking at a great next couple of days with the cold front pushing through. Temperatures starting to cool themselves off, and even a nice break from the rain, which we haven't seen rain in quite a while, but it'll be quick tonight, and we'll get some great temperatures to follow. So I'm not complaining about that. I think Aaron would agree with me on that.
I certainly do agree with you, Ryan. I am not complaining about those cooler temperatures coming in over the weekend behind that cold front. But first, we do have to go through that rainfall here overnight here across at least much of the area and into tomorrow. So do grab that umbrella if you're heading out the door tonight, into tomorrow morning perhaps as well. It's not until probably tomorrow evening where we might expect more waning conditions on those, at least in terms of the rainfall. And then late night tomorrow and into Friday should be a lot more pleasant as we continue on across the day. But as you've seen for the show, we'll continue to start seeing these cold fronts more regularly as we continue on throughout the rest of October, and then we enter into the later part of the fall and into the wintertime. But as you saw before, it generally should stay pretty warm across much of the area, at least in terms of average temperatures. But once in a while, we could get these little cold snaps here, and certainly happened last year with the La Nina year as well. But don't forget to follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/FSU weather. And also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/FSU weather. And if you haven't already, or watch us live on YouTube at youtube.com/FSU weather. And also don't forget to also follow us on Instagram at FSU weather. But I mean, to at least end your night here, we'll turn things back over to the wall with Ryan to go look at one last look at our 7-day.
And we've got a great look at the rest of the forecast, so we hope you have a great rest of the week. 85 degrees was the high, or is the high for tomorrow. 50% chance of rain with those morning thunderstorms. And then the rest of the week, take a look at that. Mid to upper 80s, even a couple of 70s as we get into early next week. Rain showers are pushing out for weekend, maybe a couple showers on Monday morning. Hope you have a great rest of the night. Thank you so much for watching us. And as always, go Noles.